$847,000. One wire transfer, one signature, and the name at the bottom was Pam Bondi. Ted Lieu placed the document flat on the witness table. He did not say a word. He let it sit there. He let every camera in the room find it. He let every attorney at the defense table figure out what it meant. That single sheet of paper had been authenticated by two independent forensic analysts. It had been submitted under seal to the House Judiciary Committee 3 weeks before this hearing. And until that morning, the only people who knew it existed were sitting in that room. Bondi was seated directly across the chamber. Her legal team occupied 3 chairs to her right. Her lead attorney had not picked up her pen in 40 seconds. That was the first sign. Room 2441 of the Rayburn House office building holds 312 people at capacity. On the morning this hearing convened, 289 were present. Not a single seat in the press gallery was empty. The C-SPAN feed was live. And what no network anchor mentioned that evening was this: Lieu had arrived 43 minutes before the scheduled start time. He reviewed his materials alone. He reorganized 3 folders, and he placed the bank transfer document inside a plain manila envelope that sat face down on his left side, until the exact moment he chose to use it. The hearing had been announced as routine. Budget allocations, staffing levels, interagency coordination. 2 reporters had already left after the opening statements. They would regret that. Bondi's opening had been measured and confident. She spoke in prepared paragraphs. She cited statistics. She mentioned coordination with career prosecutors. She used the word transparent 7 times in 12 minutes. Her attorneys nodded at intervals. The performance was professional. It was practiced. None of it was going to matter. Subscribe right now if you want every document from this investigation covered before the networks touch it. Hit the bell. Never miss a hearing, a transfer record, or a name. To understand what happened next, you need to understand who Ted Lieu is. He is not a politician who stumbled into a hearing room with a sharp question. He is a United States Air Force veteran who served as a military prosecutor. He has spent decades building cases not from accusations but from documents, from timestamps, from paper trails that do not lie and cannot be spun. He does not raise his voice in hearings because he does not need to. The documents do the work. He simply places them where they cannot be ignored. That morning, he had been waiting for this moment for 14 months. 14 months of FOIA requests, 14 months of denials, 14 months of privilege logs and appeals and bureaucratic walls constructed specifically to keep one document out of one hearing room. And on this morning, the wall had finally come down. He did not show it. He sat through the opening statements with the patience of someone who already knows how the story ends. He asked procedural questions. He nodded at budget figures. He let the clock move. And then he picked up the bank record. Pay close attention to what happened next, because this is where the entire hearing changed. What Lieu placed on that table was not a press leak. It was not a rumor. It was a federally authenticated wire transfer document stamped with a FOIA certification number submitted to the congressional record under penalty of perjury by the originating financial institution. The document had a routing number, it had a timestamp, and it had a signature line confirming receipt of funds. A name on that line that Bondi had spent 15 months hoping would never appear in a federal proceeding. Her lead attorney leaned left and whispered something. Bondi's chin did not move. Her eyes dropped to the table. That was the second sign. Liu's first question was simple. Attorney General Bondi, in your role overseeing financial settlements processed through your office, did you personally review authorization forms for wire transfers exceeding $100,000? Bondi said yes. Standard protocol. All major transfers. She said it clearly, without hesitation, under oath, in front of 289 witnesses and a live C-SPAN broadcast. That answer was the trap, and she had just walked straight into it. Drop a comment right now. Do you believe $847,000 moves through a DOJ settlement account without the Attorney General reviewing where it goes? Drop your answer below. Lieu reached for the manila envelope. He removed the single sheet. He slid it across the witness table until it sat directly in front of Bondi's microphone. He said only this: I am going to ask you to look at the document in front of you. He did not explain what it was. He did not summarize its contents. He gave Bondi's attorneys no time to object before her eyes had already moved to the page. The wire transfer dated from a specific period in Bondi's tenure. The amount $847,000. The destination account had been flagged internally by Treasury analysts as a suspicious activity candidate before the transfer ever cleared. That flag was reviewed, then it was removed. The internal removal memo bore a 3-word notation. Matter is classified. And beneath those 3 words was a signature block that Lieu had now placed face up on the witness table in a federal congressional hearing on the permanent record under oath. Nobody in that chamber could look away. The two reporters who had left after the opening statements were now watching on their phones from the hallway. Lieu had not raised his voice. He had not made a single accusation. He had placed a document on a table and asked Bondi to read her own signature. The lead attorney rose. "Congressman, I would request a brief recess to allow my client to review the document with counsel." Lieu said no. And he said it the way a former military prosecutor says no. Quiet, flat, absolute. He said the document is already in the congressional record. He said the witness has already stated she reviews all transfers of this magnitude. He said he had one question, and he intended to ask it. "Attorney General Bondi, is that your signature on the authorization line of the transfer settlement form submitted during your tenure? Yes or no?" The room waited. Everyone in that chamber understood what this moment meant. If accountability under oath matters to you, support this channel right now. Like this video, share it, because what Bondi did next was the moment her entire defense collapsed. Bondi looked at the page. She looked at her attorneys. The lead attorney had sat back down. The second attorney had put her pen flat on the table. What those two attorneys communicated with their posture was something every person in that room understood immediately. There was no available answer. A yes confirmed the transfer authorization. A no claimed the signature was fabricated. Either answer destroyed her position on record. Both statements could not be true at the same time, her sworn testimony from this morning, and the document now sitting in front of her microphone. This is the moment Washington calls a box, when two sworn statements occupy the same record and only one of them can survive. Attorneys spend careers helping clients avoid this position. Bondi's team had spent 15 months trying to keep this document out of this room for exactly this reason. The privilege log, the executive privilege claim, the FOIA denial, the appeal, every procedural move made over 14 months had been designed to prevent this single yes or no question from ever being asked under oath. It was asked anyway. And there was a second document. What this channel can report is that Lieu held a second envelope in reserve throughout the entire hearing, one he never opened. Its contents were not read into the record, but the FBI official witness interview report, the document known as an FD 302, detailing a career DOJ attorney's account of a pressure campaign to remove the suspicious activity flag, was submitted as a sealed exhibit. The chain of custody on that document runs from the career attorney's statement through the Inspector General's preliminary review directly to the House Judiciary Committee. That chain is unbroken. What happened in that room was not partisan. This was not a Democrat attacking a Republican. This was a congressman trained as a military prosecutor in the United States Air Force, building a case from documents rather than accusations. Doing exactly that. The FD 302 exists, the wire transfer exists, the suspicious activity flag removal exists. The removal memo bearing the notation matter is classified exists. Lieu did not accuse Bondi of anything. He let 4 documents accuse her. But it was the document he had been saving for this exact moment that produced the silence. Because the decisive blow in a hearing like this does not come from an accusation, it comes from the other person's own record. Bondi's authorization signature on a document her office submitted, her own mark on a federally certified form, was now sitting in the permanent congressional record while she sat 3 feet away and could not answer a yes or no question about whether the signature was hers. Not his word, her signature on her own form. Not his accusation, her own authorization mark on a document her office produced. Both statements under oath. Only one of them can be true. If watching the law apply equally to everyone matters to you, like this video right now. Every like keeps this investigation visible. Bondi's lead attorney spoke quietly into her client's ear for 11 seconds. Bondi straightened in her chair. She placed both hands flat on the table. "Congressman, at this time, I need to consult with counsel before responding to that specific inquiry." Lieu said, "You have been under oath for 2 hours. He said, "The document has been in the congressional record for 3 weeks. He said, "I am asking you to confirm your own signature on a form your office produced." He said, "Yes or no." The silence lasted 92 seconds. It was entered into the official transcript, marked by the committee stenographer as witness non-responsive. During those 92 seconds, Bondi's breathing was visible to the senators seated closest. Her hands did not move. Her lead attorney wrote a single word on a legal pad and turned it so Bondi could read it. 92 seconds is longer than it sounds in that room. In a congressional hearing, silence is not neutral, it is testimony. Every second that passes without an answer is recorded, time-stamped, entered into a transcript that will exist long after the cameras leave and the headlines fade. The stenographer does not pause, the record does not wait. And everyone seated in that chamber, every member, every staffer, every reporter, understood that what they were watching was not hesitation, it was calculation. When the silence ended, it was the lead attorney who spoke. "Congressman, Pursuant to my client's constitutional rights and the procedural protections afforded under the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution, my client respectfully declines to answer that question at this time. The chamber did not make a sound, not the members, not the press gallery, not the 289 people in those seats. The stenographer continued typing. The C-SPAN camera held on Bondi's face. The Fifth Amendment protects every American from being compelled to testify against themselves. That right is absolute, it is constitutional, and invoking it in a congressional hearing is entirely legal. But Bondi was not an ordinary witness. She was the Attorney General of the United States. She was seated at that table because she oversees the very department responsible for enforcing the laws she was now declining to speak about. She had opened this hearing by using the word transparent 7 times. She had testified minutes earlier that she personally reviewed all major transfers as standard protocol, and then she refused to confirm her own signature. That contradiction does not require interpretation. It is written into the official record in plain language. Lieu looked at the document. Then he looked at the committee chair. He said, "For the record, the witness has declined to confirm or deny her signature on a federally certified wire transfer authorization form while under oath before this committee." He said he would be submitting a formal referral to the Inspector General within 24 hours. He picked up his pen. He wrote something. He did not look at Bondi again. The formal contradiction now exists in the official record. Statement 1, delivered before the Senate Intelligence Committee in September. Bondi testified she had no specific knowledge of settlement transfers in that amount connected to classified matter designations. Statement 2, delivered this morning. Bondi testified she personally reviewed all major transfer authorizations as standard protocol. Both statements are under oath. Both statements are in the permanent congressional record. Both statements cannot be true. The chain of custody for the bank transfer document runs from the originating financial institution to the Treasury Records Archive to a FOIA request filed by a congressional research unit 14 months ago. That request was initially denied on grounds of executive privilege. The denial was appealed. The appeal produced a privilege log that did not include the authorization form. No network covered the 14-month document fight that produced this moment. The hearing made the news. The legal battle that made the hearing possible did not. If you want the Inspector General referral documents and the privilege log analysis covered before anyone else touches them, subscribe and hit the bell right now. What the cameras in that gallery captured was a hearing. What they did not capture was the 92-second silence in full. The broadcast cut to a wide shot at second 31. It returned to Bondi at second 74, the 18 seconds in the middle, the period when Bondi read the word her attorney had written on the legal pad and made her decision. Those 18 seconds do not appear in the archived C-SPAN footage. The transcript does. The committee stenographer recorded every second. In the hours that followed, carefully worded statements began to appear. The language was familiar, professional. It emphasized protocols and procedural rights and commitment to justice. It rejected implications without addressing documents. It denied impropriety without confronting the record. The record did not move because paper does not respond to press releases. Documents do not soften under political pressure. The wire transfer is in the congressional record. The removal memo is in the congressional record. The FD 302 is a sealed exhibit in the House Judiciary Committee. The Fifth Amendment invocation is in the permanent congressional record. And Bondi's September testimony is in the permanent congressional record. 3 records, 1 signature, and 92 seconds of silence that told everyone watching everything they needed to know. The Inspector General referral is now active. The privilege log analysis is underway. The chain of custody documentation covering the full 14-month FOIA fight has been submitted. What happens next will not be determined by headlines or press statements or carefully managed narratives. It will be determined by what the documents say, and the documents are already on the record. Share this video with everyone you know who believes the law applies to everyone. The next 24 hours will determine whether this referral produces action or disappears into a privilege review. The complete privilege log analysis and the chain of custody documentation will be covered next. Subscribe and hit the bell, because the moment this channel goes quiet is the moment this story goes with it.